As we've been talking about, Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, is facing one charge of simple battery. According to an arrest report, Lewandowski is due in court on May the 4th.
Defense attorney Randy Zellin is here with us to break it all down. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so first of all, let's point out again, because I think it's important to note, he was not charged with assault. He was charged with simple battery. What exactly does that mean?
It is, generally speaking, it is the unauthorized touching of someone. To get a little bit more specific, typically, if you intend to do something, to touch someone, perhaps to hurt someone, and you actually cause an injury, that is when you get into the crime of assault or the crime of battery. As a crime, misdemeanor carries with it the possibility of jail and a criminal record.
We have the surveillance video now that we're playing for the audience. Do you think that this helps or hurts Lewandowski's case moving forward?
The video absolutely, positively, without question, helps
In what
Mr.
way?
Lewandowski. When you look at that video, and let's make a disclaimer here, I don't care if this is Donald Trump or Donald Duck. I am simply looking at the evidence in this case as a former prosecutor and now a defense attorney. And what I see, and remember, the burden is on the prosecution to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Lewandowski need do nothing, need not open his mouth, zero. What I see on that video is just as much someone trying to catch up to Mr. Trump and is grabbing onto someone to get past that person, as much as I see someone intending to do that in order to hurt someone. And I see just as equally someone making sure that someone doesn't get too close to a presidential candidate when that person doesn't know who the other person is.
But I have to ask you, in Florida, when you go to battery, it's about unwanted touching. She obviously has stated that this was unwanted touching. Does it not play into that specific piece within the Florida law?
Any crime, for the most part, is going to be a crime of intent. What was Mr. Lewandowski's intent? If I go to touch you right now, and you don't want me to, does that mean I should be locked up? As long as my intent wasn't to do something that's wrong, why in God's name should I be locked up if I don't know that you don't want me to touch your hand right now?
But she's in a press area. Donald Trump is walking through a press area. She's asking him a question. Yes, maybe he doesn't recognize her, but he's in a press area. So you're going to be asked questions. Is there really something to support him being that physical with her?
Well, first of all, we cannot tell from that video just how physical he was, certainly to the extent that she's got any injuries, if she sought medical attention.
He's like aiming at her.
He's aiming at her, and again, it could be something as simple as she is between him and Mr. Trump, and he's trying to catch up, or it could be, I don't know who this person is, and he is or she is way too close to him, and I'm going to err on the side of caution and just know who she is before I let her get any closer. That's not intent to do harm, not intent to do a crime. And as far as an unauthorized touching goes, again, assuming he wasn't doing it for some untoward reason, he knew who she was, he knew that she was an unfriendly reporter and wanted to grab her.
I'm
no,
assuming,
no crime.
though, she had press credentials and had to go through some sort of security to get into this area in the beginning. So it just seems a little shocking to see a member of the press treated that way.
The problem is these days more than ever, goes back to the odd couple. Assume. What happens when you assume? You run a risk. And in today's times, we've seen Mr. Trump attacked from behind. We have seen crazy things that go on. So what I believe Mr. Lewandowski did, and I wouldn't know him if I tripped over him. He could have just as easily grabbed me, or I could have grabbed him. What I see there is someone either trying to get to Mr. Trump and moving someone out of the way, or making sure that someone that he doesn't know and can't see her press credentials doesn't get too close when he doesn't know what can happen. Remember, she worked for a company that was Trump friendly. He would have no earthly reason to pull her away. He'd be someone that he would welcome her to ask him a question.
I do want to ask then, so if this is thrown out, what about a civil suit against Lewandowski? What happens in that case?
Very interesting, because first of all, the burden of proof is different in a civil case. In a criminal case, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil case, it's preponderance. What we're talking about is the difference up here to down here in a criminal case to right here, 51-49 in a civil case. where it becomes a sexier case, if you will, where we talk about the prior things that go on at Trump rallies, the violence, Mr. Trump talking about punching people, Mr. Lewandowski's prior incidents, where they have no place in a criminal case because you don't convict someone on a propensity. In a civil case, that's all fair game, and it would be difficult for Mr. Trump to say, I did not know, I had no reason to know that Mr. Lewandowski might get rough with someone. So that, to me, if you want to turn this into something, and I don't think you should, I think Ted Cruz is wrong, but he's right. Why in God's name are we focusing in on this? What does this have to do with the election when we have such pressing issues facing this country and so many unanswered questions that we want our candidates to speak to us about before we go into that booth? We're making an issue of a campaign manager grabbing someone that he didn't know by the arm. That's what's newsworthy right now?
Well, free speech. I think that's what we're talking about.
That
Randy
is true.
Zellin, defense attorney, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.